the press of who support the Northwest, they like a story. The feeling it gives you here is like no other. I watched him on Carpool Karaoke just today, and it was Justin Bieber. This is gonna sound wrong, sausage. He's right. If I stop now, this is it. You couldn't put it any better, really. You know, I guess the difference being in 4 minutes time you're back round again, whereas the TT, you know, in 20 minutes time I hope you're back round again. The recovery was long and dark and painful. And
welcome to Donington Park. Welcome to the roof of Completely Motorbike's Kawasaki hospitality. In this episode, we sit down with one of the most versatile riders the British paddock has ever produced. We talk about his dark times through his injury at the corner at Goddard's just over the way there, and coming back then to contest the BMW F900R Cup. That's Richard Cooper. This is Off Track, the motorcycle racing podcast. Richard Cooper. Hey, welcome to Off Track.
Yeah.
First time.
Yeah.
Have we done this before?
First time.
In person.
In person. I did one with you with FHO.
Yeah.
Start of last season.
But that was with three of them.
Yeah, that was with
and
Brooks,
we did one in lockdown when I think it might have been the second or third episode of this when we first started the whole project back in 2020. But yeah, you had Hickey and Josh with you last time. Yeah. So it's about time we did one ourselves.
Yeah.
How are you, mate? Nice to see you.
Yeah, no, good. Been trying to do this together for a while. A few messages back and forth. And due to me riding many bikes, there was never a point where I'd got everything in place for this season, right up until Alton Park, BSB round 2, round 1 for myself, that everything was in place, and then the Northwest 200, and then with that, let's try and get something done after, and here we are.
It's fantastic. And the most recent event for you has been the Northwest 200.
Yeah.
1 win, 1 gold, 3 silvers.
Yeah.
Well, we might as well talk about the most recent thing first, especially after the difficult times of 23 and the exclusions. We'll come on to that, I'm sure, at some point. But tell us about the Northwest 200 2024.
Yeah, big bold statement, start of the week, you know, want to win all 4. Something that, you know, I wouldn't really say out loud, but the press of who support the Northwest, they like a story. They love a story. And I thought I'm going to give them one. You know, arrived on the Tuesday, and straight away, Stephen Davidson was like, right, let's do something. And I gave it him straight away. I was like, 4 wins. I don't know if it rattled a few feathers, but yeah, I backed myself. Started off winning the first race, Super Sport. I'm not going to say it went downhill from there on, because I fought for every single race, every single lap. And unfortunately, you know, I didn't win another race. We finished second 3 times. But if you can say that's a bad Northwest 200, then you tell me what a good one is. So very happy. Quite possibly one of my most favourite weeks of the year, due to racing motorbikes on the roads, having the family there. The north coast of Ireland is just, as you well know, it's pretty special. And the feeling it gives you here is like no other, you know. Quite an emotional one at times, even like due to, you know, what we're doing, you know, but walking the dog at like 7 a.m. on your own on that coast road, like it gets you a little bit. And yes, it is very nice to be on the ferry home, you know, with or without trophies, however you approach it, however your results were. It's a dangerous sport, and I'm fully aware of that. And yeah, I'm very, very grateful for what I achieved, and equally, you know, for the harder week went, and to be back safe.
How did the love affair with the Northwest 200 begin?
It was always, like most things, a conversation. At the time, I was riding for build-based Suzuki with Hawk Racing. Obviously, they run Michael Dunlop, TT in Northwest, and Steve Hickins said to me, you know, would you be interested in the roads? And I thought about it. I actually went over in 18 and did the press stuff with Tommy Bradwell, actually. Yeah. So me and Tommy went over and we did the press stuff, and they made a big song and dance about it, and I was like, whoa, I've not signed up to it just yet. It was kind of just a let's have a look, and before I knew it, it seemed like I was doing it. However, it didn't happen in 18. I'm quite glad it didn't happen in 18 because it was one of my tougher seasons in the British Championship, and then I went in 19 when I was having probably my best season in the British Championship, and it kind of just like all clicked. And yeah, I was very lucky with the weather. I got a lot of laps in, you know. This was in 19, last race of the week, super stock race, stuck it on the podium, and I was like, this is a bit of me, this is. And a fact for you, I've not been off the podium since that last race in 19. I've not been off the podium.
That's a hell of a record.
Yeah, so it is, and I'm very, very proud of that, because I don't class myself as a road racer. You know, I class myself as a British Championship short circuit racer. But when you look at the trophies,
we'll come on to that of where we are in a second.
It's been quite an achievement, really, and it's almost like a drug. You know, it's like you're on the boat over there, you're like, okay, what I want to achieve, and then you come back and you're like, maybe I could achieve a bit more.
It really does, and that's the beauty of you as a motorcycle racer, in the fact that you're not going there to make up the numbers. We had the little chat before we started recording, didn't we? Mm-hmm. And it's one thing that always stands out about you as a racer is you're not there to make up the numbers. You're going there to win. Mm. And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't, and you take it when you don't. Mm. As you were magnanimous on the podium at the Northwest, you were beaten by that big fella on the Yamaha. Yeah. Well, you kept him honest, and I think it's probably fair to say with the podiums that you've done, if you added up, and this is probably a bit of you could take this both ways. If you added up the margin to the top step, it's not going to come to more than half a minute, is it? No, across all the races, I think pretty much. Yeah,
I've never had an easy time out there. You always had to battle whatever it will be. Super twin, super sport. You know, previously super stock, super bike. Like I've done all the classes there, and I constantly get asked, you know, why don't I ride a super stock bike? Why don't I ride a super bike? And the simple answer is like, I don't feel I'm up to it no more. You know, at 41 years of age, it's demanding. Like it's so demanding on your body, and I just don't recover physically quick enough to be out there for a week riding super bike, super stock, super sport, super twin, like some of the guys do. I'm just like, I know my limitations, and I've set my goals to those limitations. Super sport, super twin. You know, physically I feel fit enough to ride those bikes. You know, I can fight for every lap, and equally I kind of enjoy watching the superbike race now. You know, I get to see those boys battle and sit back and enjoy it.
But the Saturday, if you were riding, no, that's absolutely brutal. Yeah, I mean, Hickey looked knackered by the end of it. Yeah, for doing, we got two superbike races on two superbike races on the Saturday, two super twins, a super sport, and a super stock.
Yeah, Hickey actually had to give up a race because his allocation was up. You know, you're only allowed to do 5 races in a day, and he was up to what would have been 6. That's demanding. You know, that's physical, and like also like also physical on your body, but your brain processing things at that speed, because we all know how fast it is. You know, everybody wants to see 200 mile an hour on the roads, but like your brain is also doing 200 miles an hour. It's very difficult to control that. Like 2 days after, I feel almost like the come down has kicked in. 2 days after, you know, it's not like BSB when pretty much by the time you packed up the motorhome, you know, you're ready. It took 2 days for the Northwest, and that's the demanding side of road racing. And I actually said to a few friends, like, how those boys go to the TT for 2 weeks, beyond me. Like, that must be so demanding on everything. You know, a fair play to the guys that go and do it.
And you wonder why they struggle then to go to Knockhill.
Yes, yeah.
It always beggars belief when they do that. Like, say, for the TT, I've spent 15 days there in 22, and I was knackered, and all I was driving was a phone. Taking pretty pictures and videos and social media and press releases and stuff. But you come back absolutely drained. It's so intense. But the Northwest always has a bit more of a relaxed feel to it. It's not a party feel. That's the wrong word. But it doesn't have the intensity of the TT on the start line. Yes, it's serious, but it doesn't have that feeling of the tap on the shoulder and away you go, and the potential, let's say. I think that's a better word, isn't it?
Yeah. It's, I think you couldn't put it any better, really. I guess the difference being in 4 minutes time, you're back round again. Whereas the TT, in 20 minutes time, I hope you're back round again.
Yeah.
There's the coverage at the Northwest is almost as good as short circuit coverage. You're covering the whole lap. The sector times are coming up almost as quick as some of the short circuits, and I think that gives a different feeling to what the TT does.
You're not waiting 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But you're waiting almost 4 minutes for a sector.
Yes.
At the Isle of Man, where you've done a lap in 4:20 something.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And it does. It beggars belief. I mean, we spoke last year when we did the show down at Silverstone with Hickey and Josh, and we spoke about Station Corner and the intensity of the whole lap. Take me back to last year with the Super Twins with Ryan and the issues that you had, and then you were rightly reinstated. Was it earlier this year?
Yeah, I think it was actually. Yeah.
Was it February time?
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
So a whole 10 months later.
Yeah, an ongoing court case that, to be fair, Ryan Farquhar was 100% committed to the job. Like, he was like, I'm going to full send. And I, I'm a racer. Yes, I would like the wins, but equally, I was like, well, that's it. We'll move on. We'll come back and we'll prove that we can win again. But for Ryan, it wasn't like that. He went tooth and nail with the organisers, and he got it overturned. Funnily enough, I actually met the solicitor who fought the case just the other day. And real nice guy, lives on the circuit just after Black Hill at the Northwest 200. Showed me his house, very nice house. Clearly he's been winning a few court cases because
they're nice up there.
Quite a nice house.
For himself along there.
Yeah. But I thanked him for his hard work, and he says his story is in the pub that he's actually won 2 Northwest 200s himself, and then he goes on to tell the story that he was the solicitor of the person that. But he has won 2 races.
Well, he has, yeah.
Yeah, and wrongly or rightly, however you read the rules, one person read the rules that we was cheating, one person read the rules that we wasn't. That happens in any sport, how you read the rule book is determined by the person that you are almost. Ryan read it differently to the person that protested us. It's just a shame when it gets so messy. But I don't think there was a person that was who thought that we shouldn't have won those races. That's the more important thing. That's
the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the general consensus of like, well, hang on a minute, that's a bit tight.
Yeah.
It's that. And I remember years ago, it was Colin Wright that was always parading up and down pit lane. He'd have the rule book in one hand and a protest form in the other.
Yeah.
It's all down to interpretation, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
And that loophole now closed. And knowing that it was right and everything was done, and rightly, you are back credited with the 2 wins from last year.
Yeah. So I was happy with that. Trophies are downstairs actually.
I was going to ask if you've got the trophies from this year and last year.
I've got the trophies, yeah. Not the prize money.
I was waiting for the bank transfer. Is that complete? Yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk about that one another day.
We'll gloss over that one quickly. You got the trophies and you've got the record books.
We're in the record
That's the start. That's the start of it. As you find people can see that are watching on the YouTube, but for the audio listeners, we are in the Coopes Museum.
Yeah.
It's Coopes' man cave. It doesn't matter where it is, but this for the audio listeners, for the YouTube viewers, you can see the leathers on the side, you can see the passes at the back, and we'll do a full 360 with the camera later on. But for the audio listeners, there's trophies across the back wall. There's photos up on the roof. There's trophies on the back wall. There's another wall of leathers on that far side. There's a whole host of lids in the middle. Yours, Randy Mamola's. There's Jacko's. There's
Baz Burrell.
Barry Burrell.
Car ride.
Why'd I get Barry Beacock? Why's it? Barry Burrell. And car rides at the end, and then a whole host of your historical helmets. But most of them have the white stripe. And you're telling me the story of the two white stripes that basically are recognisable as you.
Yeah. I'd like to say it's really exciting, and there was a big long story behind it, but really there wasn't. I had a plain black helmet. My dad took it to the graphics guy, said, "Can you put a couple of stripes on that and his name on the back, please?" And it came back near as my helmet design is now. It's got a little bit more fancy in details now, and the paint man does his magic with it. But it was as simple as that, And I tried a different style helmet, more extravagant, shall we say?
Bit jazzy.
And every time I put it on, my dad was like, "Well, I don't know which one's you." So I've had to revert back to the two white stripes constantly. But yeah, that's kind of the helmet really. And the number 47 actually is a very similar story. My dad did a bit of racing in 98. He had a Rossi helmet. He then requested 46, as you would, because you got a Rossi helmet, and 46 was gone. They sent 47 through in the end of 98, and then the bike went in the garage for the winter. So the first race I did was in 99. Number 47 was on the bike. Right then, what number were we going to be? And my dad being as tight as he was, well, number 47, because it's already on the bike. And that was it. I've been number 47 since 1999, give or take, if I have to run 147 or near as close to it as what we can be. So, real basic stories, but 24 years later, it's still there, but it is synonymous with you. Everyone who's anybody that are racing fans knows that number 47 is Richard Cooper. And the most important thing is that we see it back racing. Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
You have a career of two halves.
Yes.
Pre-2020, post 2020. Pre-2020, super successful, winning races in Super Sport, 2 Superstock championships, a couple of BSB wins, notably end of 18, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On the build-based bike, last race of the year. Always good for a contract ride, that one.
Yeah, good. I think 6 British bike podiums in total.
Yeah.
2 Superstock championships, like you say. Number of Super Sport podiums, wins. R1 Cup, KTM Super Duke Challenge, Boxer Cup, Junior Superstock, European Superstock. Always podiumed, always been lucky enough to stand on that box, to spray the champagne, which is an amazing feeling, full stop. One that we've spoke about, savouring the moment. Again, for the viewers, there's many trophies in here. For the listeners, it's something that I feel that more people should do. First part of the career, and then the crash in 2020. One that for me, I didn't see it coming. Is that clear to say? You don't see it coming when you are at the top of your game.
Absolutely. No, because you're at a point where you're in control of what you're doing. We spoke about this for the ladies and gentlemen listening and watching. We spoke about this before we hit record on the cameras, that when you get to a certain level in the sport, when you get to a certain confidence in your ability, you absolutely don't see that. You are in your own mind expecting a podium.
Yeah.
Because that's why you go racing.
Yeah.
You don't expect to be sat at the exit of Goddard's with your leg wrapped around your head.
No, it didn't at all.
Put it as blunt as I can.
And that was as blunt as it was, from running the number 1 plate on the Bavens BMW at the start of 2020 to not even making it out of round 1 in hospital with massive injuries, compound fracture of the tib and fib. Like, I seen it, I won't forget it. I seen the bone. I pulled my leg back into place. There's a number of bike racers that have been in that position, top level riders, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody at all. And the recovery was long and dark and painful, and like it is for a lot of injuries, and emotional. And it becomes a lonely place, as you could ask anybody. You could ask Uchi, McGuinness, Lee Johnston, present,
going through it now.
It's tough, and you have to kind of dig deep a little bit, and keep progressing in yourself, and the injuries just seem to take forever to repair, and you quite question, is this the end? And I kind of was accepting that it probably was. A lot of people said to me, you've done a lot in your career, you've been successful, do you need to come back? And the answer, I didn't really know the answer. That was the honest truth. I didn't know if I needed to come back. I was quite content in what I'd done, until one person said a simple sentence to me, which was James Whittam, and he, in Whit's typical manner and the way he came up to me, and he was like, well, you know what, Coopes, you're a long time retired, just remember that. And it kind of was, I was like, he's right. If I stop now, this is it. This is the end. What do I do? I still felt, even though my leg was massively injured, I still felt I had more to give. And that stuck with me for a long time. And I didn't rush back from the injury. I made sure that when I did come back, I wasn't 100%. Will I ever be 100%? I don't quite know. There's a lot of things I can't do still that I could do before. But when I did come back, I had to enjoy it and not be worried about the what ifs again. And I did. I came back, and the speed was still there, and the hunger was still there. And I was like, right, what I need to do now is pick and choose what I want to do. That was the changeover. I went from, right, I've got to be in this championship and I've got to win the championship, to actually, I quite like Brands Hatch. I'll do that race, and I quite like the Northwest 200, so I'll do that race, and I really like to go back to Daytona again, so I'll do that race, rather than me being, right, I want to be Superstock champion again, or I want to be a British Supersport champion. I just went, if it's right for me, I'm going to do it. And this is where the second part of, I feel, my career is the path it's going down.
And sometimes it takes an incident like that to help you understand, or generally it takes maturity. Maturity is usually the less painful way, but to be sat out for what was effectively 2 seasons, but with the COVID schedule, it was kind of one. Yeah, it was 12 rounds, almost 11 rounds. So the recovery time was assisted that way, because you weren't losing out too much to the others, because they weren't racing either. Yeah. But to come back from such an injury, and I know that there was a photographer on scene as well, wasn't there? But that's never seen, and rightly so. Yeah. It's never seen the light of day, because he didn't realise what had happened. Yeah. He just knew you'd crashed, but then when he looked at the picture, he's like, yeah, no. What was the biggest support mechanism for you through those days after the crash?
It was difficult because Danielle couldn't even come into hospital because of COVID, so in a way, in a really selfish way, that helped me, because I didn't break down every time I seen Danielle, because in theory I couldn't provide. I wasn't able to provide. I was in hospital. I wasn't sure how long the injury was going to take. She couldn't come into hospital, to be by my side. And it, in a really selfish way, that got me through it, because I think if I had constantly been seeing Danielle, or my parents, or whoever wanted to come visit me, it would have been a constant reminder of, like, what to do. What do you do now? questions, asking questions that you're not ready to answer. I could look back on messages that I'd replied to people when I was in hospital, and it wasn't even me writing the messages. I was typing it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't me. It wasn't me writing these messages. So that helped me quite a lot. And then when I came out of hospital, obviously I was back home, and again the COVID thing was still no one knew what to do. So you couldn't necessarily go visit people because you didn't know whether you were supposed to go visit people. So again, you was kind of confined to your house,
yeah.
and to the person closest to you, and that, they say, I know it's selfish, but that kept me going, not having to constantly repeat myself.
That's an interesting concept because it might have taken you down a different road. If you had to reason it out with Danielle, with your parents, with your closest mates.
Yeah.
To go, and the general consensus would be, are you sure you want to do this?
Yes.
But having that isolation to gather your own thoughts and do you know what? I'll figure this out myself.
Yeah.
Has basically given you a second career.
Yeah, very much so. And yeah, that's my way of thinking. I'm glad somebody understands that way of thinking, and it's worked in my favour for sure. Of course, I wouldn't want to go back there. But yeah, it's gave me a two-part career, which we're talking about now, which is I'm very, very thankful for.
I asked, it's a completely different scenario, but similar in some ways in the severity of the accident, that you're able to come back from yours, but unfortunately Shakey's ended his career. Are you the same bloke that went into that dark period? Or have you changed?
I think I've changed. Yeah, I think I've changed. I'm quite more acceptant of the bad results, and we didn't quite get it right, or the expectation. I know I don't have to constantly deliver, which is very difficult because as racers we feel like we should constantly deliver, and most importantly, like, if Danielle was to say enough's enough, I really think you should stop, I would probably say okay, whereas before there was no stopping me. There was if it meant driving up and down the country to do a test or to whatever it may be, I would have done it. Now I'm like, well, do I actually need to do that? I don't think I do. Or yes, I do need to go and do that. So I'll go about it the best possible way that benefits me rather than others.
What's been the highlight? In fact, no, I'll come to that shortly. Tell me about the first time you rode a bike in anger after the injury.
Yeah. So Hawk Racing, Bill Bass, Suzuki, Bennett Suzuki, Steve Hickin, massive part in my career. Always on the other end of a text message or a phone call. He always said to me, whenever you're ready, there's a bike ready for you. And I put him off for a long time, and he was persistent in saying, whenever you're ready, there will be something there for you. And I think it was Darling Moor, the Stars meeting, which is not a big meeting, but you get a few people turn up. It's a good event, one that I've won previously, and I was like, right, let's do it. Let's go again. And it didn't take long. Bear in mind, the first bike I jumped back on was the Superbike, and it was there straight away. The speed was there, the win was there. I won the event, and it was nice to have that sensation again, for sure. Yes, I was a little bit careful. I tried to limit the risks in as many areas as possible, but I kind of knew then that, right, okay, I'm still up to the job. I just need to be careful in how I pick my fights. Yeah. and from that point on, like I say, I've chose what I wanted to do rather than someone demanding me to go and do something.
How did the ride in the F900R Cup come about? Because that was kind of a late entry.
Yeah.
Much to people's.
Yeah.
you know what social media is like, mate.
Yeah.
Only too well.
I dabbled in the British Championship a little bit, which would have been 22.
Yeah.
You know, I did a super stock round, double podium there. We did a super sport round and put on double podium there. And I was loving coming and doing those little one-off things.
Super sub.
Yeah, you know, that was great. And then I wasn't really looking for a full-time BSB ride because I was quite enjoying just coming in as and when I pleased. Then the F900 Championship came about, and it sort of, you know, it not saying it excited me, but it sort of pricked my.
Just piqued your interest.
Yes, it did. I went to the press thing that they did at Brands Hatch, and I was like, I fancy a bit of this. You know, wasn't quite sure how I was going to get into it, and it'd be cost effective because you know racing's got to be cost effective.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I'm not going to lie, they announced the prize fund, and it got me interested even more. And why shouldn't it? You know,
Absolutely.
People assume that we earn big packets of prize money every time we step on a bike, and unfortunately, that's not the truth. So when BMW announced the championship with a sufficient prize fund, who are they to stop me from having a go at that prize fund? And I contacted Faye, FHO, and Faye is she's quite a character. I really admire Faye for what she does, and she kind of just said to me, well, what do you want, Richard? What do you need? And I says, if you can give me the tools, I will do the rest. You know, and I think people thought that I was a FHO factory BMW rider. I really wasn't. You know, she gave me a bike, an awning, and we was in the paddock with everybody else.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not like you were working out the garage.
No, it wasn't working out the garage. You know, I had some good sponsors, some good friends helping me, and we just went racing, and I just enjoyed riding the bike and being back in the British Championship. You know, I never set my sights on being back in the British Championship full time. The BMWs wasn't. You know, we was at selected rounds. I think we did 9 rounds out of 11.
11, yeah.
You know, and we had multiple races at each round, so I didn't have to go to Knockhill. I didn't have to go to the second Alton. Those little things really appealed to me, and probably underestimated the enjoyment of that class. And I got a bit of prize money for it. You know, so
Well, it's worth doing, isn't it? That's exactly the point. And I think there's been the same kind of response to the Sportbike class for this season. But that first round at Alton Park, you didn't exactly have it your own way, did you?
No, you know, again, massively criticised because I'm in the Sportbike Championship. You know, let's remind people of the rules. There is no age cap. It's
just as well.
It's just as well. It's an open championship to anybody who wants to enter that championship, regardless of previous experience. And I'm not in it for the money because there isn't none. I'm not in it for the trophies because, as you can see, I have a few. I'm in it.
You've barely got room for them, to be fair.
I'm in it because I enjoy riding motorbikes, and I enjoy riding the Triumph 660 with PHR, a bike that I've developed as a road bike because I'm a test rider at Triumph. You know, all these things, people don't see this side of it, and they just assume that I'm trophy hunting or collecting the prize money, and it couldn't be far from me either of those. If somebody said to me, right, you're going to ride around Donington Park, you can win both races, there's no podium at the end of it, and it's going to cost you fuel money to get up there, I'm still going Donington Park. You know, I'm still going to be there. And I turned up at Alton Park, and then according to everybody else, I should have won the championship. I didn't even win a race. You know, I got beat hands down by the new Italian kid on his Aprilia, and to be quite honest, I left on park with quite a smile on my face because I thought, right, it's on.
Yeah.
I've got to find a little bit, and he's going to come in all guns blazing at round 2, Donington Park. And it's what the fans wanted to see, really. And I think it delivered.
I think there's a little bit of that, and I mean this in the most genuine of ways. The fans want to see you battle.
Yeah.
They if you're going to win it, let's fight for it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Thomas Strudwick tried his best in the F900R Cup, ex-British Talent Cup rider, been over in Spain for a couple of 3 seasons, kind of disappeared under the radar a little bit when he went away, but the boy can pedal.
Yep.
And he's only young. But this season, it looks like you got a bit of a job on, mate.
Yeah. And like I say, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see how quick he learns the circuits. At Alton Park, let's not forget, it wasn't a foregone conclusion. Thomas Strudwick and Aaron Sylvester, they was right behind me until the crash happened at Izzy Chicane. Who knows what could have happened over race distance. That's round 1. People are only going to improve their package, their riding, everything. And I'm fully aware that, the challenge might come from somebody else, not necessarily just Eduardo on the Aprilia. It might come from a younger person on a different manufacturer that finds his speed naturally. And what better target? This is the way I see it. If you want to be the next British champion in whatever class you choose to be in, you first and foremost have to be a British champion to be the best. And I am 3 times national British champion, if you like. So benchmarks there. Let's welcome these boys to come and have a go.
Do you know who that reminds me of? John McGuinness.
Yeah.
I'm 52. If you can beat me, you can have my ride.
Yeah.
But until then, I'm quite happy.
Yeah. And look what John did at the Northwest. Our pit box was next to their pit box on the pit lane. And, I wish he could have seen what I seen when he crossed the line in 3rd, because, his team, his wife, his children, I stood there and admired what they was feeling then. And I was like, wow, that's, amazing for John. I know we're going to sidetrack a little bit, but I seen it and I watched a little video just today, actually. Somebody recorded it on their phone from John's interview in the VIP tent at the Northwest, and amazing. And he's right. If you want to be a TT winner, first you have to beat the TT winner.
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
And the cheer that he got over the line, 3rd place, was absolutely brilliant.
It was, yeah.
And it proves that, age is a number.
Yeah.
And if the young guns want to win a championship or they want a factory ride, you've got to beat the experience.
Yeah.
And that experience don't come for free.
No.
You earn it.
Yeah. So at 41...
Racing age.
Real age, as you can see from the very, very old pictures and race licenses that are scattered about.
We can definitely say that Coopes is 41. Definitely. Now Chris Walker's another matter. he's a different ball game altogether. That first part of your career, what are the highlights as you look back?
There's many, there's what I experienced in those first 10 years of my racing career, because I was very short time in the British Championship, quickly went to the European Championship when there was no social media, nobody really knew what you was doing. The championships was still just as tough. We was driving in a car to Brno, 24 hours worth of driving, to drive back to be at work on a Monday. Equally, going to, where it be in Mugello, the cheapest way possible to go and race in these European circuits. My experience level just went through the roof. The results weren't always there. And again, there was some difficult times when you really don't see a way back in, because you've almost been forgotten about, which we spoke about some of the younger talent that's coming through. When I finally got back to the British Championship, I had a wealth of experience that I feel that others didn't. you know, and I quickly made my mark back on the British Championship scene, and it gave me a I didn't know it at the time, you know, obviously I didn't realise that this was the making of me, if that makes sense. You're just trying to do your best at the time. But when I did come back to the British Championship, you know, it was 2009 when so I left in 2002 and it come back till 2009. Like, a lot happened.
Long time.
It's a long time away.
Long time in racing, that.
Yeah, it is. But when I did come back, almost people was like, "Oh, where have you been? What have you been doing?" Because people didn't know.
I've been winning BMW Boxer Cups and things like that.
There was people like, you know, Whittam and Jack Bernacle. They knew what I was doing because they was commentating for
World Superbike support classes.
Yeah. You know, they knew what I was doing, but the top teams, if you like, in the British Championship, they didn't really know what I was doing. And you know, I was quite fortunate that I dropped in with a team called Co-Audit Racing, which is my wife's dad, Pete. And he gave me that stepping stone back into the British Championship. And when I returned in 2009, I'd like to think, you know, we've not looked back since as far as my progression with the teams I've rode for, and the success that I gained. Yeah, it's been pretty good.
Just thinking of a question there of going away for 7 years. I know James Ellison went away and was double European Superstock champion. Carl Harris, I think he was a double champion as well with GR Motorsport. That wealth of experience is absolutely vital. But do you think it set you back for a British Superbike career?
Yes, absolutely. I feel I missed the boat just in some terms. So before I left, I was racing against Tom Sykes, Cal Crutchlow, Craig Jones, Leon Camier. I was up against them. They were, you know, if you look at the age where those guys are, okay, I'm a little bit older, but they're all in the late 30s now, and that's right where I was. And they got the factory rides in Supersport and then into BSB. And, you know, it took me a little bit more time to get there. And when I did get there, you know, I had great bikes, but not the best bikes. Like, I thank my teams for the bikes that I was given, but I was never on the ones that they had. And that's just the way it is. You know, there's many people, careers have gone like that, and some people have gone like that. You know, you can't begrudge those people. It just took me a little bit longer to get there. But if you look at it on the other hand, like, I'm still going, and those guys are, okay, you know, they chose different paths, whether they're semi-retired or a test rider or a team manager. Just took me a little bit longer to get there, really.
It's just what made me think, because coming back in 2009, that was the year that Johnny, in fact, the year after, Johnny went up in 2009, didn't he? But Cal, Tom, Eugene, and was Eugene part of it? Leon Camier.
Yeah.
Those three, at least, all made that step into either World Supersport or World Superbike.
Yeah.
So you kind of that class of 2002, 2003 that grew from the R6 Cup into that. That's what made me sort of think of that question, really, because it was a golden age and you were earning your spurs on the continent.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got many timesheets in boxes down there with those guys' names on, and you know, it's, like I say, I've raced them
behind you.
Yeah, like I say, but I don't regret taking the opportunity to go to Europe then, and I think you know, I learned from it and I experienced from it and brought it back when I did come back.
I just thought it was an interesting question. Thank you, man. I appreciate you answering that one. Well, what do we want to talk about now? Because it's just thrown me asking that question. I wasn't expecting to ask that one. Talk to me about this place. How did you decide to make your man cave? Where did the idea come from to do this? Because it is absolutely stunning and completely blown me away.
Yeah, I guess I'm not an hoarder of such. I just don't like throwing things away.
Oh, that's all right then.
And, you know, I was never in a position to have it all on display for a long, long time. But I kept everything. I kept the trophies and I kept the levers. And, you know, in boxes in the lofts, and I did my best to keep the memories as such. And I always knew one day that I would have somewhere big enough to have it all on display. And I'm quite fortunate now that I do. And hence why I wanted to invite you around. I didn't tell you about this because I quite like the element of surprise when you pop your head up and you see what I've got.
It's honestly, and I genuinely, as I said it before, and I'll go on record on the show as saying it, thank you for inviting us down, because I'm super grateful and quite honoured to be sat here doing this with you in your trophy room with your leathers, your helmets, and the whole history of what you've done.
Yeah, so it's nice when you see it, you know, it's not even all of it, which is the scary thing. There is still more stuff, you know, it's mental, but you can't put a price on it, you know. That's it. You can't put a price on it.
There's no price on memories.
There's no price on memories. And, you know, it won't be too long before the daughter's on her way up the ladders, you know, finding out what is up here. At the minute, she just sees the hatch and me go through it. But,
and then come down 2 days later.
It come down 2 days later, yeah. But yeah, it's something that I'm very proud of, and I hope you know, the viewers, and I hope the listeners want to go view to see what we're talking about. Because
we'll make sure we post on the social media so the listeners can see it as well. We'll have a picture up here with you so they can see just the size of the place and the magnitude.
Yeah.
What are your favourites? Which set of leathers give you the best feeling when you look at them?
You know, talk about that question when you said you know the answer, but you're not going to know it when.
And there's a whole host of those here as well on this pad. But that's the first one for you. This just proves we don't rehearse questions before we do anything.
It's hard to say, you know. One of my favourite suits, just down to the livery and how it all turned out, was the classic Suzuki. I don't even know where the suit is. It's over on there. So I did the guess ride, so we're pointing, you guys can't see it.
Yeah, second from the end.
Second from in, classic Bennett Suzuki Assen in the 1980s, 1990s livery.
Suzuki blue and white.
I really enjoyed how that one came out, and the feedback was amazing. Like, it just looked mega, and it was just an idea that myself and Steve Hicken had, and we got it into motion, and it came out mega.
Tell you what, am I alright to go and get them?
Yeah, if you can dig them off the
and it just
rail, you have to like jiggle it about.
Jiggle it round. There we are.
Yeah.
So for those on the audio, I do apologise, but we will do a photo.
Yeah. So this suit was. I went into RST, quite fortunate that RST have backed me, as you can see, from 2016, and sat down with them, and we did the livery, and it matched up to the bike perfectly. Yeah, the internet went quite wild for this one, and I think it's just the retro thing. Yeah, people love a bit of retro, and when you get it done right, like we did this year, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely stunning. I'll put those back for you, mate. You have a seat back down, and I'm going to ask you the same question of which lid gives you the most the most butterflies when you look at it?
I think
I'm not apologising for throwing you under the bus.
No, it's
not at all. This is why we're up here.
It's a difficult one. I could pick up the very first helmet that we spoke about. You know,
the one around the corner.
The one around the corner. I think that sort of set set my trademark, if you can call it that. You know, I know it's not a massively detailed design, but 2000, I think, yeah, 2000 would have been when I wore this helmet, and as dusty as you can see it. My dad said to the graphics guys, can you just put some stripes over that and put his name on the back? And this is what he came back with, and this has been kind of my my signature design, if you like. It's got better over the years.
You can see that with some of
It's got better over the years.
The wooden ones that you did.
Yeah.
And the good thing of having this microphone on is I can wander around with it, which isn't quite nice. I'll put that back on there for you. That's okay. And that's the beauty of being up here, that you have those memories and they're always going to be there. Make sure I'm sat back in the right place, that's it. But we'll make sure that we take some photos of those for social media for our... I'm very aware that the audio listeners can't quite see where we are. But the coolest thing that I love about the audio shows is that every single person who listens to this show now has a picture in their mind. Every single one of the 5,000 or so that'll listen have a completely different image.
Yeah, yeah.
And that fascinates me with the audio side of it. With the video guys on YouTube, you can see this, and we'll, as I said, we'll do the 360 before we finish, and we'll do it with the phone so we get a better view of what's going on. You mentioned Daytona earlier. You've got your Daytona cap on, and you've got the Triumph Racing PHR kit on, promoting Hickey and the Peter Hickman Racing and PHR Performance, and all of the above for the big man. Tell us about Daytona.
Yeah, great event. One that I visited in 2008 with great success. Finished 5th in that with BMW. Chaz Davies won it. This is, if you talk about missed opportunities like before, Chaz Davies won it before he was a world champion, and I finished 5th against him on a BMW Boxer Cup bike. If you look at the timesheets, we're not far away.
No.
But the career never got to where Chaz went to World Superbike, World Champion, MotoGP from that point on. And I'm not saying I plateaued, my path took me a different way.
That's the point.
Yeah.
You can all pedal.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But one of the biggest things in racing, and we've said it time and again on the show, the effort and the application for top riders is pretty much to a man no different. But opportunity and a little bit of good fortune makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
And right place, right time. It's timing and opportunity.
Yeah.
I guess they're the two main words. And if you're not in the right place at the right time to take that opportunity, your career will automatically take a different path.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make anybody any lesser of a rider, as your timesheet's proved in that big bloody folder over there.
Yeah.
It's about that thing.
Yeah.
It's about 2 inches for those on audio.
So yeah, that back to Daytona this year, which seems such a long time ago. It was a conversation that I had with Hickey the end of last year, hospitality, in an evening time, the best time to nail down a deal. Everyone's kind of relaxed,
I've had an idea.
Yeah, Faye had treated us to a bit of steak that night for everybody, for the team, and everyone's spirits was high. Hickey mentioned Daytona, and I caught ear sight of it. Faye was there; she kind of did the same, and it was a case of he's got an idea, and I was like, okay, I need to get in on this idea, and I jokingly said to Pete, if you're going to Daytona, you've got to go with someone who's experienced. You've got to have a dancing partner. It's the way it works out there. And it took some momentum to get going, because Hickey's so laid back in everything. It's unbelievable. Even to the point when the entries was in, the flights were booked, and the bikes was still in the UK. I was like, is this even going to happen? But it did happen. We went over as an unknown, backed by Triumph, with Faye on board as a title sponsor, Hickey's personal crew, if you like, supporting the project while I was out there. Luckily for me, my experience, and I knew some people over there, which is actually this Daytona Beach Motors was a Triumph dealership. A guy that I knew was a massive help for us. A guy called Lance Isaacs, used to be a World Superbike rider. It all kind of fell into place when we got there, and the result could have been great. It wasn't, but we showed greatness, if that's fair to say.
Yeah, it is. Qualifying went well. First stint went well. Leading the race at some point in the lead group.
And then came the undoing of it. Misread a pit board. Not many people know this, so I misread a pit board. I picked up Hickey's pit board instead of my pit board. I thought it was my time to come in. As I entered the pit box, the boys just got rid of Hickey, so they wasn't ready for me. I then entered pit lane, and this is where it got definitely got a bit out of control. There had been 4 cones that was directly in front of our pit box all week. The first time I entered pit lane in the race, I didn't know, but somebody had moved those cones to 2 boxes further up.
No.
So the guys wasn't ready for me, which wouldn't have been an issue because they would have been near enough ready for me. But I went 2 boxes past the original box I should have been in. So then they had to then push me backwards, get the bike ready. I then lost, so the pit stops were around 12 to 15 seconds. I lost about 35 seconds. And then from that point on, we never got back to where we should have been at. And I ended up crashing out of the race, which was a shame. It was a shame because, like I say, the potential was definitely there, and we raised a few eyebrows in doing so. But like we spoke about, I accepted it. I apologized to the team. We win together, we lose together scenario, and that was that. And another experience gained. Will we go back to Daytona? I hope so.
That was the next question.
I hope so. We learned so much as a team in the little bits that you need to know, how to make things better, how to make the pit stop faster, how to the strategies you have to do. I won't say was going at it at a whim, but we was just kind of doing what we thought was right. And then as soon as you see the other teams and how they're doing, you're like, okay, that would be easier. And it's the simple things, it's not even the things that cost money, because it's just the simple things that make the spindle go in easier, or, make the paddock stand fit a bit better. Those little bits. And that's how you win at Daytona, because I've got the speed. I wouldn't have been where I was battling with the race winner, Josh Erin, all those guys. I was there, but we didn't quite have enough to finish the job. And if we go back, I'd like to think we could finish the job, or definitely fight for the job.
Are you enjoying the relationship with PHR? Because it's putting you on the grid again this year, and obviously with your connections to Triumph as a test rider there.
Yeah, massively. Again, Hickey being so relaxed, it's nice. You do want him to reply to a text message that's sometimes a bit quicker than what he does. But the bunch of guys that he has, the PHR Performance in Louth, I don't know if you've been there.
No, I know where it is, and the guys that run it, Mickey and
Dave, and there's a number of people in.
The name's gone out of my head. Pete Clifford.
Yes. So Pete's on the dyno.
Yeah. There's Mickey Bull as a technician.
Yeah. Leon Jones,
Mickey, Leon is Darren's son.
Yeah.
So Darren overseeing everything as well as Hickey's right-hand man. Darren and Young Jonesy coming in, working with Mickey Bull on they're your crew, aren't they, for the Sportbike?
Terms and conditions for me, I need those 2 lads, Bing Bong we call him, and Leon. We had such a great time in Daytona, and then the 660 Sportbike deal wasn't done at that time properly, which is why I kept putting off seeing you, because I was so close to getting over the line, but it wasn't over the line. After spending some time with the lads, they are so enthusiastic, they're so young, they are so willing, and I almost want to give them my experience. I want to give them as much as I can, so that they learn as fast as possible. Because if you ask anybody in the paddock, do you know a good crew chief? Do you know a good mechanic? The answers are very thin, because the good ones are already with the good teams, right? So how do you get a good one and then bring them to your team is very, very difficult. So when you've got young, enthusiastic lads like they are, in 3 or 4 years' time, they will be working on superbikes. They won't be on my sport bike. They will be on superbikes. They will be replacing his dad, Daz Jones, Hickey's right man. He will be replacing those people. It's great to see them so early in their career, as good as they are.
And Mickey quite handy on a motocross bike as well.
Both lads are. We went to Texas Tornado Boot Camp.
That was coming up next.
Yeah, we went there with the whole team, and the lads took it to me. They didn't give me an easy time, and I really enjoyed that, because it builds a relationship, off track, on track, all that. It really cements what you're going to prepare for the rest of the season. And yeah, the lads were very persistent in pushing me out of the way when they could, and I respect that.
What's the boot? Was that your first time at boot camp?
Yeah, first time. Yeah.
What did you think to it? What were your best memories of it?
Something that I've always wanted to do. I think if you ask most racers would they go to Texas Tornado Boot Camp, it's on the list of things to do. Colin's got some great memorabilia up on the walls, and I sat in his ranch knowing what I've got, and I was like, he could do so much more with this. He could get even more levers out. He could get even more trophies, which I'm sure he's got. Because I love seeing that setup. I love seeing Vance and Iron's levers from when he was in AMA.
Yeah.
I'm not so interested in his recent MotoGP stuff. I want to see the old stuff, the stuff that's got
World Superbike winning levers.
Yeah, the World Superbike levers and that kind of thing. And that's what makes the ranch, not the riding the bikes is great, that, barbecuing, drinking beer, they call it a boot camp, but it's far from a boot camp. Shooting guns. It's a great experience. It's one that, I've been once, and I'll definitely go again. Yeah, for sure.
Did you shoot the 50 cal?
No, he's been banned from shooting it because I won't say banned. He's stopped shooting it because
he's been advised
not to shoot it because of the direction that they were shooting in. They then realised, I think, at some point in the year, the leaves had fallen off the tree, and there was a car of some description passing the area that they were shooting towards, and they didn't quite know. From what I can gather.
And with a 50 cal, you can't do that.
No.
You need almost a mile.
Yes.
of dead land to be able to make that work. Good grief.
Yeah.
Mate, this has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you again for inviting us up here. I'm absolutely blown away by what we have up here, and the leathers and the memorabilia, and for your honesty, which I expected no less. And I'm very grateful for that. The story is incredible, especially of the difficult times. But what we'll do, we'll turn it round and we'll have a bit of fun now, because you admitted to me before we started this that when you're out walking your beautiful dog, you listen to the podcast and you're answering these questions like that.
Yeah.
Shall we see if you can?
We'll have a go.
Do you want odds or evens?
Odds.
Excellent. Coopes, what's your most embarrassing moment?
Yeah, you're right, aren't you? It's got it. Wasn't expecting that one.
Excuse me.
Damn it.
You've now put yourself under pressure, haven't you?
We're talking in terms of bike related.
I don't care. It's just whatever is your most embarrassing moment. I don't care if it's bike or non-bike. I think the listeners might prefer if it's non-bike, so that's going to be more entertaining.
Yeah. Oh no, you've got me. You've got me. I don't want to give you a poor answer. I need to come back to it.
Okay, let's go for who do you admire? Oh no, odd numbers. Sorry, that's an even one. You got 4 dinner party guests downstairs. 1 from sport, 1 from music, 1 from the movies, and 1 wild card. Who are you picking?
Definitely Whittam. His conversations and banter is second to none. So that's sport.
Music.
Music, yeah. You know what? I'm gonna go with someone they like, and the reason I'm gonna say this is because I watched him on Carpool Karaoke just today, and it was Justin Bieber. I don't know why I'm saying that, but I watched his Carpool Karaoke and I really enjoyed it. And am I wrong to say that? You know, it's
No.
I think
It's your show, mate. You say what you want.
Yeah. So Whit
and Justin Bieber so far.
Can you imagine that one?
Somebody from the movies?
Not a massive movie person, really. But I think
They can be alive or dead, by the way.
yeah. So my favourite film is Cool Runnings,
Yeah.
right? So I'll probably go like Sanka off Cool Runnings.
Good. I can't get my helmet on.
Exactly, yeah. It's one of my favourite films. Yeah, so yeah, it's an odd lineup, but
Yeah, that is an odd lineup.
yeah.
And then one wild card. All I've got in my head now is feel the rhythm, feel the rhythm.
I think I would probably go with another racer, probably be something like Rossi.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
just to try and level it out a little bit.
What annoys you most in life?
I know this one. Okay.
You listen to James Hayden with this one.
It annoys me most in life, right? I used to be a van driver for a bike shop. So as a van driver, you know the quickest way from A to B. So if it's a shortcut, it's a shortcut for a reason. The person in front of you who doesn't take the shortcut or takes the shortcut and proceeds to go a slower speed, which therefore doesn't make the shortcut any shorter than the way you should have gone, annoys me massively. So I used to get so frustrated and so wound up because I knew I had to be at the point of what time I need to be there, and there was always a car in front of me, and that's kind of how that's kind of how I gave up my job as a van driver because I got that annoyed with people taking the shortcut and not being quick about it. I left.
I can feel it. I can feel it as we're sat here now, mate. That is for sure. What's the one decision you change if you could?
My decision to try and overturn the decision to go to Daytona Park when I had my injury, because I shouldn't have been there because of COVID. I was in Spain when COVID happened, and you had to quarantine for 14 days, and I begged and pleaded to be allowed to go to Donington Park, and there was a reason why I shouldn't have been there. And if I could change it, I'm not saying I am worse off for it, but something was saying don't go, and I fought it all the way. And from that, if something's telling me not to go, I don't do it. Yeah, so difficult one, but there's not many things that I would like to turn the time back on and say, oh, I would do this different, but that for sure was one.
Fucking hell, mate. Seriously. I don't often get lost for words, but you that's twice you've done it to me now. What was the last thing you did for the first time?
Okay.
You've been practicing
I know
this
one. This is not massively exciting, but I did it. On the way in to the house, you see I drive an old 1989 VW pickup, which is my happy place. Okay, when I'm out driving, I just enjoy it because it's not got no mod cons. It's got nothing. It's not even got a radio, but I enjoy it. Just the other day, I did an oil filter, fuel filter, and changed the coolant on it because it'd been in storage since we'd moved house because I had nowhere to put it. And I could have took it to the garage. I know the guys in the garage, and they could have done it for me, and I didn't. I did it all on the drive. with Roxy helping me picking up the tools, and you know, I am mechanically minded when it comes to motorbikes, but I'm sure you're the same. If someone is going to service your car, you pay the person to service your car, and you pick it up when it's done.
100%.
And I did it myself, and I was quite happy with it. And it's not leaking no oil. It's still got oil in there, and there's still some water in there.
And it starts every time.
And it starts every time.
So job done.
Yeah, job done. So that was
Richard Cooper Motors, one-stop servicing.
I wouldn't do that far.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Yeah. I'd say invisibility.
It's usually the one.
Yeah, invisibility, because at times it would be nice.
Why, Coopes?
It just you know, at times it would. I'm not saying it makes everything go away, but it's difficult at times. Racing, life, work, and I feel it's not getting no easier for anybody, and for my daughter. The world she's going to go into is going to be very tough, and you can only hide behind closed doors for so long. If you could just be invisible for a short space of time, I think it'd be quite nice.
I can echo that completely. My daughter's 21, and you kind of think, what's next? Mm-hmm. I don't mind. I'm 51. To quote the lyrics from the great Luke Combs, there's more sand in the bottom of mine than the top. So there's no other way to look at it. And it's like, okay, well, I can kind of accept the way things are going at the minute. I don't like it. I think a lot of what we see is horrendous on the news, but there are some really cool things and some cool places on the planet still to see. And I think Roxy will be absolutely fine.
I hope so. You know, I know she will, because the way I look at it is, she doesn't know what we've had, because what she had will be what she has. And it's tough. Like, you know, I only want the best for her and Danielle, and I'll do whatever it takes to provide the best, like we all would, you know, like Danielle's parents do for her, like my parents do for me, and I will do for Roxy. And you know, if I can provide a roof over her head, if that's all I need to do, then that's all I'll do. But if I can provide more, I'll do the best to give more.
I'm going to ask you a question after we finish these, because there's one that's popped into my head, because it's kind of what I do. What's the one food you could never give up?
Okay. In the best possible way. This is going to sound wrong. Sausage. Right. Because
everyone loves a bit of sausage.
I knew you was going to say this, right? No, if I've had a good day, bad day, or, you know, if Danielle knows that I've been away with work, I'm away with work a lot. It's difficult, and I'm back on a Sunday. She doesn't need to ask me what I want. We're getting sausage and mash, right? And she knows that sausage and mash is one of my favourite meals, and it's like homely, and it's all those things that, you know, that if you was to say, oh, you can't have that again, I'd be quite disappointed. That I could do without a fancy steak or a nice pizza or whatever, but to take sausage and mash away would be pretty hard.
Beans or gravy?
Gravy with ketchup.
Okay.
Yeah. Got to have ketchup.
I wanted the full picture, because it's a bit dry otherwise.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good. I'm quite happy with the sausage and mash. I love the sausage and mash, same as you. I do love a good sausage. What superstitions do you have, Coopes?
Okay. So I didn't think I had any, But I quickly realised I do have one, and because a few people pointed it out to me, and now they've pointed it out to me, I can't not do it. So just a little pat at the tank or a rub of the tank before the race. You know, I generally, you know, I'm not worried about the same pair of socks or the same undersuit or anything like that, but just pulling up onto the grid, wherever we are, you know, whatever race it is, club race, British Championship race, World Championship race, just a pat at the bike on the tank. I don't really know what you're telling it, but you know, I guess it's you just, you know, run it together, if that makes sense.
You watch MotoGP?
Pecco does it. Every
time. And it's just a little caress,
yeah.
a little, right, here we go, let's go and do this.
And I pick up on things like that because I'm quite an intense person when it comes to how I watch my motorsport. So I'll wait till Roxy's in bed and I will have headphones on so that in the politest possible way, I can't be interrupted because I need to see all those things and hear all those things. And yes, I've noticed Pecco does it. And I'm sure other riders have something very similar.
They don't matter. It's about Pecco.
Yes. So I don't do it because he does it. I did it before that.
No, exactly. No, I wasn't making a comparison that way, but he's the first one I thought of because it's so obvious when he does it. It's just saying, it's just the angle of the tank.
Yeah.
It's just a nice little caress and like, here we go, darling. Yeah. Let's go race.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
The question that, as you were talking then about Roxy, your beautiful daughter, how much has becoming a dad changed you?
Oh, massive. You know, in terms of, it hasn't changed me as a racer. Like I still give 100%. I still, you know, I don't. That's the right question. But in general life of things to do on a weekend, how much time I spend away at work, I try and limit those things because I don't want to miss it. Even to the point of, I did a few track days at the start of this year at Cadwell Park with the boys, Leon and Bing Bong. And I said, look, I've got to rush off. Like last session, we'll do it, but I've got to be home by 6:30 because Roxy gets to bed at 7 o'clock and I want to put her to bed. Whereas previously I would have been like, well, shall we do then? Shall we go Nando's or shall we do something else? Shall we, you know,
Skeg Vegas,
whatever it be. And now it's not. Donington Park this weekend, or I don't know when you guys are going to watch this, but I'll travel home each evening because I want to be there to put her to bed, and I want to keep that routine. And you know, you don't know what effect it's going to have on you because people can only tell you, can't they? You know, it's the best thing ever, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm sure it is, but it really is the best thing ever. And to see her face when I'm like not doing so good lifts you up. To see her face when I'm doing really good lifts you even higher. Like Danielle put a video on from the Northwest and I went up on the stage and she was like clapping and running around, shouting my name. And I'm like, you know what, keep your trophy, keep the race result. If that's all I could have today, then I'm happy with that. And I don't want to miss that because the age she's at now is the best. Like, you've seen her when you came in, she wasn't shy in coming forward.
Brilliant.
It's amazing, yeah. So yeah, massive change in perspective.
I think a lot of that comes with age as well. Because you've achieved a lot up to the point that she was born. You've come out of a dark place to the point that she was born, and the outlook that both of those events have had on you as a person, not as a racer, because that's kind of never changed. You go out there to win because that's what you do. But to see that side on the personal front, for me, is absolutely fascinating because all racers are still humans. The stick that some riders get that you've had over the last couple of seasons has been accused of pot hunting and stuff like this, and you've explained that away perfectly because it's not. But the keyboard warriors, they're sat behind behind the phones, they're going, no. There's a human behind that with a young family and a beautiful life outside of that. And it for me, that's kind of important to get across. And that's why I asked the question about, I know what it feels like to be the dad of a daughter.
Yeah.
And I remember clearly when Emily was that age, and you would, and even now, 21 years later, you would absolutely walk through hot coals for them.
Yeah, yeah.
As any dad would be of a son or a daughter, but we can only speak from having daughters.
Yeah.
And I think there is a slightly different angle to having a son, or I've never had a son, so I don't know, but I would presume that the relationship is slightly different with the son. It's a bit more rough and tumble. With your daughter, you got the princess, and you're like, there's your pedestal.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly. There's no coming a manual, do there? Let's be fair.
No.
There's no instruction manual. There's no Haynes manual for having a kid. Mate, this has been incredible. Last questions. You know what they are. First one, what's your favourite corner and why?
I've got two, right? UK circuit, Paddock Hill.
Yep.
You know, probably my favourite circuit ever. Like, great success there, regardless of crashing there or winning there. Still a great corner. And then European circuit, I'm going to go Eau Rouge Spa-Francorchamps. Yeah, I'm quite fortunate that I got to race there a couple of times. It's better than what it looks on TV. You know, it really is something special. And if you had the opportunity to go and race there or ride there, you've got to take it. It's a pretty special circuit, and I'm fortunate enough that I've actually won there. But if I hadn't, it still would be Eau Rouge, yeah.
Not fancy endurance racing, do you?
Did endurance racing.
But you're at that age where you
over that now. I did 3 or 4 24-hour races, Qatar 8 hours, did all those, but couldn't be enough money in the world to take me back now.
Free Tech Endurance, that's 25.
Yeah. T-side, yeah.
T-side special, we've seen the bike downstairs. And the very final question, Coopes. What's your best hire car story?
Yeah, well, I have a few. We have a few.
We've got time.
We had a minibus T5 people carrier thing, and after the week it went back with, from what I can remember, 1st, 3rd and 5th gears, and that was it. And we took the full insurance out, and we got it back to the airport. And I remember, well, I mentioned the driver drove it into the parking space, as you can imagine. Well, the only way to get that way out was just to reverse it out. There was no reverse. It was it left the chat, shall we say, which was full insurance. We took full advantage of it.
So that's one knackered gearbox.
That is one knackered gearbox. We once had I think it was like a little Fiat 500. You know how you do? There are always little Fiat 500s, don't we? And let's say we was going down an undulating road that we thought we could hit at full speed, which we did. And it managed to rip off most of the front of the car. And we just carried on driving it for the rest of the week. Again, took it back to the hire car people. Full insurance, there's your keys, thank you very much. Off you go. To then get a phone call for the hire car company to say, could they have the number of the third party involved in the accident that you've been in, because the damage was that bad. And we explained that there was nobody else involved, it was just our own doing.
Youth and exuberance.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always, I'd like to think that they get tamer, but they really don't. It just depends on the people that you're with. I try and not be the name driver.
Useful.
Yes, very useful.
Useful.
Yes.
And weirdly, most people who tell us stories on the show are never the name driver.
Yeah.
And I can't prove whether they were or they weren't. Oh, somebody else was driving. We won't name him.
Yeah.
What, it was you? No. All right. Honestly, Coopes, thank you. This has been one of probably the most enlightening chats I think we've ever done. So thank you on behalf of the listeners and the viewers. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for inviting us up here, mate. And we wish you most importantly, success this weekend at Donington. We wish you all the best for the rest of the season and continued success in the career, mate. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you,
ladies and gentlemen, Richard Cooper. Thank you, mate. Coopes, tell us about this board.
I don't know what you call these boards as such. I guess it's like a goals board or something. So 2002, I did this as part of the ACU Academy, and it was a projective of where you're going to see yourself, and a lot of it's come true to the point of, okay, I was never a superbike champion, but was in British Superbikes. European Championship. I never was a world champion, but went to the European Championship. The car on the drive. Quite fortunate that we have a BMW on the drive. The house is not too dissimilar to what we live in. This is 21, 22 years old. And a lot of it it's kind of come true.
I think that's just incredible. You showed me that before we started. Yeah. I meant to mention it in the show, but now we're doing this little video at the end.
Yeah.
That is just...
quite ironic, mate.
Richard Cooper.
Colin Edwards there, and I went to his boot camp. We've just been talking about that one as well. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But yeah, I would have been... I don't know, I would have been
19,
yeah.
You should 19. Put it in the bottom, Richard Cooper, age 19.
Yeah, I should have been really, shouldn't I? Now 41, and it's faded a little bit, but I guess that's pretty good.
Incredible. And this place, honestly, again, all the pictures up on the wall.
So
all the pictures this side.
Levers kind of in order, first ever set right through to, I guess you could say, the RST era, 2016 onwards, which then led us over to, I guess, almost the evolution of RST, if you like. Pointed out the difference in the suit now to how it started. I think is I thank them for their support, because as you can see, I have many different team brands and manufacturers.
More latest ones.
Yeah.
And then, as we've seen on the side, the trophies, the original trophies in the middle, the first trophies. There's all sorts going on. And then the Northwest 200 ones to come up. So absolutely unbelievable. Richie Cooper.
Thank you very much.
Super, mate. Thank you very much.